the rest of the harvest, but each one in his own order. Christ, the first fruits, afterward, those who are Christ at his coming. Then comes the end, when he delivers the kingdom to God the Father, when he puts an end to all rule and all authority and power. 1 Corinthians 15, verses 23 and 24. I once saw an online discussion of the following question: can someone who does not believe in the literal resurrection of Jesus still be considered a Christian? Of course, in the world of online debate, every conceivable opinion made it to the table. And those of a more liberal bent insisted that one does not need to believe in the miraculous parts of Christ's ministry to consider oneself a Christian. To admire his teachings is enough, they insist. In one sense, they are right. We would not call a churchgoer who reads the teachings of Jesus a Buddhist. After all, the only appropriate category to place them is Christian. Likewise, a religious cult built around an understanding of Jesus, even it being wildly hysterical, would be Christian, in the loosest sense of the word. But would denying the bodily resurrection by the faith that Christ intended his followers to have? Not according to the New Testament. In his magnificent letter to the Corinthian church, Paul insists that if Christ is not risen, then our preaching is empty, and your faith also empty. Our future hope lies in the fact that Jesus had already physically come back from the dead. Victory of the first death is essential to the belief system. On the part of Jesus. A sinless human being who has taken our sins upon himself and then conquered death, our greatest enemy. The resurrection of Christ is not merely an interesting historical occurrence. It is God's down payment on our future. At the Feast of First Fruits, the priest would take a sheaf of grain from the earliest part of the harvest and wave the sheaf before the Lord. It was simultaneously an act of gratitude for God's provision and an act of faith that the rest of the harvest would follow soon. The resurrection of Christ, Paul tells us, is the true wave sheaf offering, because Christ has risen from the dead as one of us, as a human being. We can have confidence that the rest of the harvest will follow. We too will one day rise from the dead. That's if we die before the second coming. But then there's also the concept of dying in sin, and I'm getting off track there, but you get my point. The resurrection is not merely a historical fact. It is the very cornerstone of our hope. As we look back to the cross, we know that we have something to look forward to, because Christ is not our past, but our future.